Well, welcome back. Talking about CBN retaining the 27% interest rate has come to stay based on what the CBN is saying, and they have raised a lot of arguments to support why they are taking up the 27%. And one of the arguments is that inflation is still here, and for them it is still a fight not yet finished. So they are still using their instrument, the monetary instrument, to fight inflation in Nigeria. And secondly, the macroeconomic environment, according to what CBN is saying, it's not yet suitable to have a cut in our interest rate. And they did make mention of some of the issues around the macroeconomy aspect of Nigerian economy. They made mention of the issue of the energy. They made mention of the issue of cost of transportation. They also made mention of issue around insecurity and others, particularly on the aspect of food production in Nigeria. And not to forget, they made mention of the technical aspect of the Nigerian economy in the aspect of exchange reserve as well as exchange volatility in the Nigerian economy. For instance, many argue that with Naira gaining in recent time, CBN is supposed to have a rate cut. But for the CBN, yes, you are right on the part of you saying Naira is gaining. But for them, they're looking beyond just the gain of Naira within this period. And I think since September, Naira has been having a rebound recovery of some 10 Naira, 20 Naira, 30 Naira, to the point that Naira now had a gap difference between black market and official price that is less than 50 Naira. But CBN is not looking at that picture as being painted, as being, achieved in the economy. You are looking at a bigger picture. And that's one of the reasons why they said they can't have a cut at this point in time. But on the other side, they also talk about the issue of global economy, particularly crude oil price and the rest of them, that is shaking global economy and creating uncertainty within the Nigerian economy particularly. And they cited the reason why at this point in time they can't go for a cut. They still need to watch what is happening on the global side. Though analysts were so at the forefront and they painted the picture that Federal Reserve Bank in US have had a cut. UK bank has had a cut. European banks are having a cut. Asian banks are having a cut. Why can't Nigerian CBN also have a cut on its interest rate? And they painted, for them, for the CBN, they painted a very interesting and attractive scenario, which means that for them, it is not about what other banks are doing, but the peculiarity of our local economy. But I'll quickly point this fact also, that for economists who believe that at this point in time, we're supposed to have a cut to allow for accessible credit facilities. And for the CBN, they are not against credit facilities to be accessible in Nigeria. But for them, they're also looking at the issue of cash flow challenges, and they argue on that part. And that's why for them, they leave liquidity at 30%. So joining me right now is Honorable Kasimu to also put perspective to all I have said and to more that is going to help us to understand on this 27% retained by CBN MPC members. Honorable, nice to have you on the show, sir.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you.
All right. So let's get to the discussion. How did you receive the retain of 27% MPR rate?
Well, we received it with mixed feeling. Most of the analysts expect cut in view of the fact that the single reason that CBN always advocate for rising MPR is to beat inflation.
Exactly.
Today, inflation fell to 16.05%, far below the expectation of the analyst. So if that is the single reason that pushes them to put the MPR, now that it falls below even the expectation, why shouldn't have cut the MPR? We now see that, yes, they mention inflation as the reason, but it goes beyond inflation. One of the major reasons is that they want to retain the foreign investors, especially in view of the fact of what happened recently. There was the fear of intervention by the US, and that most of the foreign investors are not likely going to take it light. They know what happened to the intervention of the US in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, among many other countries. However, CBN choose to maintain the MPR at 27, so that even today at OMO, you are talking of 25 to 25.5%. And this is where most of the foreign investors play. So now that there is a cut of the rate in the US, cut of the rates in UK, cut of the rate in Europe, most of the foreign investors are looking where can they make it better. Nigeria choose to give them the platform that they can come here, they can get as much as 25%, which they can never get in any of this or nearby. So despite the risk of the fear of the US intervention, they may choose to remain in Nigeria and even to bring more. And that gives us two things. Once it gives us foreign exchange stability, at the initial of the year, CBN is looking by the end of December to arrive at about 1,500 per dollar.
Exactly.
Today, as I'm talking to you, is talking about 1,460. Even 40 basis points below their expectation. So therefore, they want to retain that. And they want to say that despite the fear of the US intervention, the foreign investors, in view of the huge return, they may decide to retain. And don't forget, that also added value to our foreign exchange reserve. Today, we are talking of 44 billion US dollar in our reserve, the position that we have not achieved in the last 7 years. In addition to that, the continued production of the Dangote refinery reduce the demand for foreign exchange to import petroleum. And therefore, if this situation persists, it's not impossible for our foreign exchange reserve to rise higher than what it is today. And that may even bring more stability in the foreign exchange before the end of the year. And the more stable of it, the more people can predict for the economy.
Exactly. Honorable, I haven't said so much in this regard, but the argument of analysts who predicted a 26% cut, a 26.50% cut, look at opportunity that could come in if this cut also is taken by CBN, particularly access to credit. So for you, although you are not in the CBN, you don't work for them, but you're also a businessman who is also interested in how to boost Nigerian economy. So it's like restoring investors' confidence, either locally or foreign, and also boosting credit facility to business. It's like CBN is like divided between these two, but they choose the part of restoring foreign investors' confidence. But what do you make of all this? Because local investors, businesses are also complaining that this 27% is too high to borrow money from the banks.
Yes, 27% is too high to borrow money, but that is not the only alternative for the investors, especially PLC. And that is why you see more companies are coming to the market to look for fund. Because if 27% is too high, you can come to the market through right or through equity or special offer placement. And either way you choose, you can get it better. Not only that, most of the blue chips company choose to come through commercial paper, which is short term. Even recently, Dangote's men came with a commercial paper, and we have seen many blue chips company are issuing commercial paper. And then forget, most of these commercial papers, they are coming with a yield of less than 20%. So what MPR stand for now is just a reference point, and the point that banks will find it more difficult now to borrow from the bank, from the CBN. Because if you look at it, the monetary policy now, they have reduced it to to 50 basis point or 450 basis point.
Exactly.
What does that mean? If you are going to borrow from CBN, you are going to borrow it very high. But if you choose to deposit your money with CBN, you are going to get it minus 450 basis point from 27, that will reduce you to 22.5% basis point. And therefore, the bank have no choice than to look alternative way of giving credit to the investors. Because if you choose to take your money to CBN, you will only earn 22.5%. So the giving credit to the investors or to the company, now the bank may not necessarily insist for getting it higher than the NPR. So they may choose to give it even below the NPR. Because today, as I'm talking to you, the federal government is issuing bond at the rate of 17-18%. And when you look at the treasury bill, it's talking about 17%. So in most cases, you will find that apart from the OMO, none of them trade above 20%. So even the bank, they have to create a way of making money. And creating way of making money may be by lending through lower rate. Alternatively, they deposit their money with CBN at 22.5% basis point. And that may not be good enough for them. At the same time, leaving NPR at 27 is not good for the economy because the existing lending, which they may not be able to repay, they have no choice than to pay that high rate. And when you pay high interest rate, it discourages you for further expansion. And therefore that increase unemployment, because it's expansion that reduces unemployment.
Exactly.
If there is less expansion, what it means there is no employment, and therefore there will more increase of unemployment, because day in, day out, the universities are graduating. Even yesterday, the Ministry of Justice or the School of Law have graduated over 200 bar students that have now coming to the market. And all these, they are looking for what to do. And therefore, we are saying that the economy should be in such a way that there will be more expansion, so that most of these graduates will get something to do. Otherwise, they will move outside the country, and that is not good for our economy.
Exactly. But having said much in this regard, Honorable, there's one aspect that the CBN really pointed to. Although analysts before now, some few days ago, were saying, no, with this, what is happening in the microeconomy, CBN should look at the prevailing circumstances. But for the CBN, they did look at the macroeconomic environment, they look at the inflation, they look at what is happening on the physical economy side, the physical policy side of the federal government, before they came to the conclusion. But in all this that we have just said, for ordinary Nigerians who believe that you can go to a bank and collect money, and with this 27% that they are hearing or they are seeing, it may discourage them. So where does this leave small enterprises, small enterprises, not those ones that can be able to go to the capital market and borrow money, but those other ones that have some little collateral to collect loan? Where does it leave them at this point in time?
Well, most of the small enterprise cannot afford to borrow. The increase in the budgetary allocation to the state doesn't escalate to the common man. So the common man is as poor as he was before, and therefore he doesn't have much to. And in most cases, the banks, especially the microfinance bank, that can easily lend to them, they are lending between 27 to 30%.
Exactly.
And when you look at the returns, compare with the downplay by the inflation, it makes you no sense to go and borrow at 30 when the inflation is going down, showing you that the purchasing power is declining. And when you have less purchasing power, you don't have the ability to buy, and therefore there is less productivity in the economy, and it's not helping the market. However, we hope that the fiscal policy, the budget for 2026 is not yet out. They may look at it, because the federal government have the capacity to borrow at a lower rate
Exactly.
in the diaspora, and now they can extend that one to small-scale entrepreneurs who can meet up their demand. But can the federal government go across the nation? The answer is no. So we need the monetary policy to look at this. Now that they leave it at 27, we hope they do the needful by 2026, maybe by February when the next meeting comes. But really, this is not helping the economy, and the small entrepreneurs are not happy with it.
Okay, interesting. So let's also look at another aspect or rationale behind this retaining 27%. For the CBN also, inflation is one of the biggest, indicators that many analysts are pointing to. But you have also explained why they did not come through for CBN to really look at that. But on the other side, food inflation was also cited. They also made mention of the issue of energy costs and the rest of them. But going forward, by February 2026, that's when CBN will be meeting again. But what do you think will happen between now and then with this 27% interest rate or MPR rate that we have in the economy?
Well, for me, all what the CBN say is good to say, but we don't believe them. Because when you look at the cost of energy, as at November last year, we are talking of 990 naira per liter. Today, we are buying PMS at 910 naira in Lagos. What it means that it has gone down by about 8%.
Exactly.
If you look at even the price of cooking gas, it's neither here nor there. There wasn't any margin in the increase. So what the energy are they talking? Except if they are talking of the energy of electricity. But in terms of the fuel, there wasn't any much increase. So for me, the energy is not the issue. The food is natural to get the price of food to come down. Because this is the harvesting period, where in November and December, and across the nation, from Sokoto down to River, you will see that Port Harcourt, Bayelsa, you will see that most of the farmers are ready for harvesting. A more inflow of the food will keep on flowing in November, December, and early January. So therefore, the food prices are not likely going anywhere. Last year, by this time, we are talking about 100,000 naira per bag of rice. Today, as I'm talking to you, it's between 60 to 70. So it has gone down by about 30%. And that is good. Go to the tube of yam. Go to the crack of egg. I can name you almost all their price has gone down and are likely to remain down from now to January next year. So therefore, the question of the inflation does not even arise. So the reason given by the CBN that why they increase the NPR because of inflation, that cannot hold for today. Because the inflation is drastically down and everybody can see it, and this is reality.
Exactly. I'm talking about reality. All right. Yes. I'm talking about reality, Honorable Kasimu, which you have clearly pointed to that fact, is that for the CBN, according to some analysts, they said they have to be very cautious in taking whatever decision they want to take. But let's take a look at the stock market and the fixed income market. Is it not something that CBN is trying to ensure that some people go to fixed market as against the stock market? Let's have your view on this particular, decision that really, although we saw something great on the stock market yesterday, but going forward, is it not like trying to attract some investors to a particular sector of the economy than the other one?
Well, the reality is that this retaining the MPR at 27 encourage more players to play in the fixed income.
Exactly.
And this is what is happening. The market has already lost about 78% in the month of November in anticipation of this rate cut. Now there wasn't any rate cut. The market, yes, gained a margin of 30 basis points yesterday, but we cannot attract it to the MPR policy because the policy came a bit late when the market is almost about to close. Today, as I'm talking to you, the all-share index are still down. And these are likely going to continue by the virtue of retaining the MPR at 27. Don't forget that the fixed income is certain. Your return is known, so there is less uncertainty. And most of the investors, they want to go where there is less risk. And fixed income give them that provisions. rather than the equity, which have high return, high risk. And now that most of the stock that gained 200, 300% in this year of 2026, and our index went as high as 52%, the rate that it never achieved in the last 17 years. Because the last time our all share index gained 50% and above, it was in 2007. From 2008 to date, it never, the highest it gained 46%. As I'm talking to you, it's about 48%. So if we can sustain that, is good for the market. But really, we don't envisage much rising in the equity market because of the return of 27% basis point.
Interesting. Now, before I let you go, Honorable, February next year is when CBN will be coming up with another MPR rate. But for now, we have seen the market reacting a bit. I also read a report this morning how the market recovered about 94 billion naira against what it has lost in the past. But for you, how do you see the market going forward, the stock market going forward under this new 27% rate? Even though we had it before, but it was retained. But now that it has not been cut, what do you see happening to the market? Because there is big expectation that the market must end well, better than what it did in 2024. But here we are at November, we are still struggling with a bearish outing with a less than 30% all stock index basic point.
Well, with this the return of 27% by the MPR, it is likely going to affect the market for two reasons. One, those that have made money in the market, they won't take their profit. And therefore, by selling, and that mount more pressure, and that will depress the price, and that can affect the all share index to go further down. Secondly, the issue of capital gain tax. Most of the people, they want to earn and gain their gain this year, so that by 2026, when the tax will start, they will start with a new line. Because if you make your gain this year, you don't have to pay that. By next year, you can reinvest in the market, and that will be your starting point, and that will be your carrying cost. And therefore, the gain for next year, it will be something else. So that may also likely going to affect the market. So give and take, I see the likely coming down for the index and the market. However, because the asset managers who control about 10 trillion of the market, that is about 10%, may likely to see that what they can do to support the price so that their asset valuation will not further go down. So we are likely going to see some element of stability arising toward the end of the year by December.
Exactly. Honorable.
But in view, yes.
Honorable, just because of time, we have to stop it there. But thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's a developing issue, and distance from now, I have to call you back and hear from you on how the market is still reacting to this particular MPR. But thank you so much for coming on the show today, sir.
So thank you for having me.
All right, sir. So do enjoy the rest of your day over there in Lagos. I've been speaking with Honorable Kasimu Garba, who happens to be a stockbroker and the MD CEO of APT Fund Ltd, based in Lagos, one of those licensed Security and Exchange Commission stockbrokers on Nigerian stock market. And he has made us understand, the all mechanism around this new MPR 27%. It's not new. It has been there. It's just that the reaction of many Nigerians was like, we want a cut. But for CBN, they disappoint a lot of people. But going forward into our discussion, still looking at the Nigerian economy, the CBN interest rate, but there's a good news that come out of that interest rate announcement yesterday. 16 banks have met the recapitalization exercise. I believe you hear me clearly. 16 Nigerian banks have now been able to raise over 500 billion. For those who are going for international banking, those who are going for national banking have been able to raise 200 billion. And those who are going for regional banks have also been able to raise over 50 billion. So 16 of them are now ready for bank recapitalization. Although, for many who were initially opposed to this bank recapitalization exercise when it was announced in early 2024. But now, everybody is now singing the song that it is a good way to go. But we'll go for a short break. When we return, I will be joined by Ambrose Omodion, who will be helping us to understand Nigerian bank sector recapitalization exercise and how far so far when it comes to stabilizing Nigerian financial sector going forward.